As a hiring manager, are you ready for your next on-site interview? Hi, this is Lori Kohler with AgHires. I've been recruiting for over 20 years and I've seen a lot of hiring managers have really bad interviews. So here we are to talk about what to do in advance to prep so that you have an effective interview with your next candidate. First thing you want to do is really prep on the candidate's background. So spend a lot of time on that resume, really diving into their background, and come to the table with specific questions that you want to ask about their background, in addition to your general interview questions that you're prepared to ask. You're also going to want to spend some time on their social media accounts and check out kind of their behavior and presence online as well. And then next, you're going to really prep about what you are ready and prepared to share with the candidate. So you're going to want to talk about not only the role that they're interviewing for, but also talk about what's the day in the life of that role, and talk about the expectations there are for being effective in that role. We see turnover with new hires, and it's usually a result of the expectations that were laid out in the interview process aren't the same as what the role actually is. So really give some thought to what a typical day looks, what some challenges might be, and what a good candidate, a good effective employee in that role looks like. You're also going to share a little bit more about the company. What's the history of the company? Where are you heading next as an organization? Who does this position report to? And what types of team members are they going to interact with? And then also don't forget, you're still selling at this point in the game. So you're going to want to talk about your culture and what it's like to work for you. When AgHires did a recent survey of over 700 agricultural job seekers, 47% said culture was highly important in their decision to join a job. If you want to access that survey, go to the link below and learn more about what these ag job seeker candidates had to say. Also be prepared to talk about compensation during the first interview. It's kind of come to an understanding that candidates are looking for that compensation discussion fairly early on in the interview process. So be prepared to ask the candidate what they're looking for in terms of compensation, and also be prepared to talk about a range that you're comfortable with during that first interview. You can always, add a caveat that you're going to continue discussions and also be something you'll look at again further in the interview process, but you're going to want to be prepared to talk about it in that first interview. Also think about ahead of time who's going to be part of this interview process. You do not want a panel interview almost at any time. If you really want the opinions of multiple people, you should break up those interviews separately, or think about different ways to engage different team members. Maybe someone takes them on the tour of the facility and someone else takes them out to lunch after the interview. But find a way to not have 4 people on one for the interview and kind of break up who's leading those discussions. And then think about if you do have more than one in the room, who's going to actually ask the majority of the questions, or how are you going to tag team that effort. And then lastly, think about the location. I often think, of course, you would have it in an office setting, but not necessarily, especially in agriculture. So a mechanic, you might want to have that discussion in the shop, maybe like a walking, talking type interview. Or with a farm operator, you might want to walk the shop, maybe walk a couple fields and get comfortable. If it's a farm manager role, maybe you're going to be driving around checking out fields and interviewing. What you are trying to gain from that interview is this candidate the right fit for the role and the culture? And what you want is that candidate to be the most comfortable they can be in those discussions. So get them into an environment that makes sense for both of you to kind of gain this knowledge about each other. Lastly, prepare for what's next. All candidates want to know is kind of what's the next steps and what's the process and when should they hear back from you. You should be prepared with a realistic time frame of what this interview process looks like. For more tips on interviewing, like and follow AgHires.